Okay, it's on to PJ Fleck and Minnesota season. And as coach said in his presser, that Minnesota has one of the best defenses in the country, and they have a big physical quarterback and a pro style, by the way, size wise and style like and prototype like, not unlike Mark Grunowski. Going to be similar. I think we can handle pro style, pro set traditional offenses, as I've said many times. Let's take a look at this. Minnesota is 2-1 with a 23-10 victory over Buffalo. They struggled a little bit on the scoreboard, pulled away late, but did have the statistical advantage in the box score. 66-0 win over Northwestern State, whoever that is. I don't know, in Louisiana or something. 27-14 loss to Cal, who lost to San Diego State 34-10 or 34-14. That's kind of weird. Surprisingly, Minnesota opens as a 5.5-point favorite over Rutgers. Okay, if you want to give them a 3-point advantage for being at home, I get that. Minnesota does hold a 3-1 advantage against Rutgers. We won last year, 26-19. That was that very forgettable game in 2022 when, what was the running back's name? Isaiah. His name is escaping me now. Israel. Was it Israel? Anyway, we lost 31-0. Lost in 2019 to Piscataway 42-7. And a closer game in 2016, we lost 34-22. All right, so, Coach was talking about how Minnesota a top defense like Ohio. And let's take a look at it. They're ranked 28th in the nation in points per game. But, with Buffalo, Northwestern State, Cal, San Diego State, you kind of take that with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, yards per game given up, they're number 6. Points per play, number 48. Yards per play, number 22. Very good in third downs. They're 27th in the country. And they tend to, fourth down, a little less so. They're ranked number 48. Red zone, surprisingly not great, but I'm guessing that there is a small sample size and maybe not a lot of data to go off of, but the red zone ranked 106th. Yards per rush to number 7. We like to rush the ball a lot, but we're not really getting a lot of yards per rush. We had 30 rushes for 70 yards against Iowa, and if Minnesota is kind of similar that way, we might have some issues. Antoine only averaged, I want to say, about 3.5 yards per carry. Rush yards per game, Minnesota's 3rd in the country. Their passing defense, we have some more opportunities, not unlike Iowa. Opponents complete 61% of the passes. That's ranked 55th. And they are yards per pass. They're ranked 45th or 43rd in the nation. The number of passes per game, they're middling about number 57 passing yards per game. And this is where, you can complete passes against them, but you might not get a lot of downfield explosive plays. They're number 39 in the country at 193 yards per game. Again, take the competition into consideration here. And their sack percentage, pretty high, number 36 in the country, 7.81%. As far as penalties, defensively, they're kind of middling. So if we can continue, we didn't have a great game against Iowa, but if we can limit our mistakes and encourage Minnesota to make some mistakes, they're only on defense. They tend to make a few penalties. They're 67th in the country. their offense a little better. They don't make a lot of mistakes like Iowa. Nowhere near Iowa's production in that regard. They're in the 30s and 40s somewhere. Minnesota's offense, like Iowa, not their strong point. Their defense is the stronger unit. Points per game, 18.5. That's 97th in the country. Yards per game, 389. Kind of middling, 357. Points per play, 112th. Yards per play, 87th. Third down conversion, just under 52%. Very good, number 16 in the country. Fourth down conversion, really bad. So we want to limit their opportunities on third down to get them into fourth down because they're 115th. Red zone scoring. We want to force them to kick field goals or stop them. They're 92nd in the country. And they do like to run the ball. And they're similar to us that way in that, they like to run it a lot, but not as a super productive. Rush play percentage, 53%, 62nd in the country. Yards per rush, not good, 3.5, number 99. You know what they want to do, play defense, throw the ball down the field, rush the ball volume-wise, not unlike Iowa, but they don't get that production and they don't have explosive game plays in the running game. The 26th in the country in rushing attempts per game and rushing yards, despite the number of attempts, and we talk about their lack of productivity. 141.5, that's 73rd. Now their defense, another story. Yards per rush, their defense is 7th in the country. And rushes per game, their defense ranks number 3. They kind of have guys that split the reps in the backfield. Darius Taylor has 33 attempts, 161 yards, just under 5 yards per carry. Bame Jaboya, I hope I got that name right, 23 attempts, 136 yards, just under 6 yards per carry. Grant Washington, 20 carries, 126, 6.3. Cam Davis, 2169, 3.3. And then A.J. Turner, 16 for 64 and 4.0. Passing, very meh. Pass play percentage, they're 75th in the country, 46% of their snaps. Completions are 111th. They had, 8th in type percentage completion, around 56%. But if you are the opposition, you can have some success against them. The yards per pass, 66th in the country at 7.5 passes per game. They tend to have a fair number of pass attempts. They're 47th at 33.5 attempts per game. Yards per game, kind of middling, kind of meh. 247.5, number 50. They do tend to, they have their interception thrown percentage, 3%, number 90. And you can get to the quarterback a little bit. Quarterback sacks percentage, 5.63. That's number 68. Defensively, they do a little better. Opponents' yards per pass, number 43. Passes per game, number 57. Yards per game, number 39. So I think we'll have to be, not to get too cute with the short tight end running back dump offs that we tend to utilize when we go to the tight end and the running back. And like we did against Iowa, get the ball downfield. And they tend not to pick the ball off a lot. The opposition's percentage of interceptions thrown, they're 119th in the country. Drake Lindsay is their quarterback, 46 for 76, 60.5%, 634 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Their top receivers are Lameek Rockington, 10 receptions, 136 yards. I think, Ian basically had that in one game. Jamison Gears, uh, three. What do we got? 7 for 55. Javon Tracy, 11 for 150, and Cam Davis, 7 for 48. Not super productive. You know what that Minnesota wants to do? They This kind of surprises me considering the style of play. The style of play of Iowa. Their turnover statistics, turnover margins per game. Minnesota's only ranked 105th, and in takeaways they're 109th. So we want to keep doing what we do, not turn the ball over. We had that one interception that really wasn't Nathan's fault against Iowa, and we're not great at taking the ball away. But if we can get some turnovers, not turn the ball over, throw the ball downfield, and have enough production out of the running game, we'll have some success. Time of possession, Minnesota's offense is very good. You could see what they want to do. And they're 6th in the country. And they're also, defensively, they get you off the field. They're also 6th in the country in time of possession against their defense. They have 7 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Opposition averages about 4.4 yards per play, 0.33 points per play, and they do a good job on third down. We need to be successful on third down. Let's not get too cute on second down and long and try to do those read options, and now it's 3rd and 8 because they only give up 29.17% third down conversion percentage. But if we get in the red zone, we should score because Minnesota's not great at that. Rutgers on the offensive end. We've all talked about how our offense is much better this year. Points per game, 35.7. We're 24th. Unfortunately, our defense is 80th. We give up almost 29 points a game. Yards per game, just under 407. That puts us at 50th. And we give up 384, which is 66th. Points per play, pretty good. We have some big plays. We're 28th. Defense, complete end of the opposite end of the spectrum. Points per play by the opposition, which means that they get big plays, we're 112th. And the opposition yards per play, we're 125th. Explosive plays are our issue. Yards per play for us, just under 6. That's kind of middling. 5. We're 56th in the country. Third down percentage, actually a little better than I thought we might have been. 42%. That's number 45. But on the other end of the spectrum, defensively, we're ranked 86th. Fourth down conversion, we've had some success at 71%, still only 52nd in the country. Defensively, we're about the same. We're about 49th in the country. Red zone scoring, 83%. We're 72nd. But once our opposition gets into the red zone, they score 92%. That's terrible. That's 98th in the country. You know what we want to do? Kyle, no longer with us, but we still want to run the ball. Actually, he got a lot of the touches against the Cowboys on Sunday. Kind of a surprise. Boy, the Cowboys' defense is really bad. Kyle started off well. I think he only had 16 yards on 6 carries, but he's getting more playing time, so good on him. Yards per rush, we're only 98th in the country, and that's 3.5 yards per carry. So we know what we want to do. It's a volume-based running game, but we don't have the production we've had in the past. Rushes per game, 36, and that's 59th. Rushing yards per game, though, 126.3, which means we're 86th. And our defense actually is pretty decent against the run, with the exception of the amount of yards per rush. We still get gashed. We're 112th in the country because we give up 5.3 yards per rush. But the total number of yards per game, a little better, 159. It's number 75 in the country, which isn't great. So Minnesota, we have a weakness versus their weakness of not having a lot of production out of their run game. But our passing game matches up well against Minnesota. We completion percentage just under, 69%. That's 23rd in the country. Yards per pass is 28th. Number of passes per game, 48. Not a high volume passing game. Passing yards per game, though. 8th in throwing the ball downfield more. He has the receiving core to do it these days. 287 yards per game, and that's 25th in the country. And the percentage interceptions thrown, we kind of ruined that with that one interception against Iowa when Nathan got hit and the ball just went up in the air. We're 23rd, but we don't do a good job protecting Nathan, as we have a 6.6 quarterback sack percentage, which is 85th. And as you can imagine, defensively, not great. 87th in the country for opposition's completion percentage against us, which is about 65%. Yards per pass, 9.5. That's 120th. That being said, the amount of passes that our opponents try and pass against us isn't a lot. We're 17th in that category. But when they do pass, and we saw this against Iowa, or Ohio, they make plays. Passing yards per game, we give up 225, which is 66th. And we don't take the ball away because the percentage of opposition's interceptions thrown, we're 100th in the country, and we're no surprise, our sack percentage, a little over 5%, and that's 82nd in the country. But here's a big one. A former strong point for us, which was our special teams, our kicking. Field goal conversion rate, 60%. That's 110th in the country. Our opposition, we allow 75%, which is kind of middling, 50%. As far as turnovers, as you could imagine, the offense doesn't turn the ball over a lot, but our defense doesn't take it away very much. So it's a tale of two cities in that regard. And offensively, we're pretty good in the penalty department. We're top 20 to 30 penalties per play, penalties per game, penalty yards per game, penalty yards per play. Defensively, not so much. We're in the 60s, which is a little below average, and we saw that big defensive holding penalty against Al-Shadi Salam against Iowa that cost us the game. Time of possession, we do a pretty good job. We are, believe it or not, number 15, despite our lack of yards per play rushing and the amount of yards and the volume that we've had in the past. And defense, also pretty good in that regard. Number 15 in the country. We don't allow other teams to hold on to the ball for 10 minutes as they're trying to make their way up and down the field. Let's hope Minnesota is looking ahead to Ohio State next week, because that's where they're off to. So if there's anything to be believed about trap games as a 5.5-point underdog, hopefully Minnesota looking past us a little bit. I don't think PJ Fleck will allow that to happen. Nonetheless, they're off to Ohio State. So this might be an opportunity for us. Let's go out there. Minnesota is going to be a tough kind of game in that they're like Iowa. They're not flashy. They don't do anything that's explosive. But you're in the fourth quarter, it's a 23-20, kind of game. That's something that that's in the cards for us. But this is going to be an interesting week around the Big Ten. Some really interesting games, and I don't know how they're still ranked. Number 21 Illinois. I mean, you lose 63-10, and I don't care who you lose 63-10 to, even if it's number one team in the country. You should not be ranked. No top team in the country should ever lose 63-10. Nonetheless, they go against number 23 USC, who's a 1.5-point favorite. USC racked up like 550 yards against Michigan State. They are who we thought they were. They like to throw it. They like to run it. A little soft on the defensive side, much like a Pac-10 or Big 12 kind of team. That'll be interesting to see if Illinois can rebound from that beatdown from Indiana, because USC is kind of similar that way as Indiana. Indiana kind of likes to run it downhill a little bit, but USC has an explosive running game and they can throw it. They're only a 1.5-point favorite, so we'll see how that one shakes out. That might be one to watch. Indiana now, number 11, which is kind of odd because Illinois was number 9 and they just kind of blew them out. But they go against Iowa, and this game should be fascinating. Now, Indiana is a 7.5-point favorite. Now, if we had passing success with Athan throwing for 330 yards, Indiana, with their ability to pass it with Mendoza and run it equally well, it's going to be fascinating to see if Iowa how Indiana matches up against Iowa compared to how we matched up against Iowa. Not super productive in the running game. Had some success early in the passing game. We put up 28 points. Probably should have had more. We missed a couple gimme field goals. Missed some opportunities. So I'll be interested to see how Iowa matches up against Indiana as a measuring stick insofar as where we are. You can kind of say that about the next game, Ohio State versus Washington. Now, Ohio State's a 14-point favorite. It'll be interesting to see how this matches up. Now, I think Ohio State will probably have their way with him, but I want to see if Washington, which, when they're not playing really subpar competition, they're not going up and down the field for 550 yards like they did last year against us with Will Rogers and Coleman and Boston for that matter. I think in my last video I kept calling Will Rogers Will Howard. Will Howard was in Kansas and Ohio State. But it'll be interesting to see again how Washington matches up against Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's going to make a lot of people look not so good. But if Washington loses, but they get explosive plays, that'll worry me a little bit. So that'll be one to watch. And then the big game, and this is probably one I'm going to watch. It's going to be number 3 Penn State versus number 6 Oregon. Penn State opens as a 3.5-point favorite. Now, Oregon hasn't been super explosive this year. Northwestern hung in with them for a while. They've had some games where you think they're just going to sprint out and beat everybody 60-16. But they're not really, even though they're still a very productive team. Not explosive as I thought they might be this year. And Penn State, who many had as a favorite to be a national champion. Also, especially their fans, have been kvetching about getting off the slow starts and also not as being that high-powered, productive offense. Drew Alar getting, maybe some criticism. This should be a really good game, so it'll be fascinating to see how that one shakes out. So interesting week in the Big Ten. This is a win we must have. We can't go into our midseason swan dive like we've done 4 out of the past 5 years or the past 4 years in a row. Go out there and I think if you come out as aggressive as you did against Iowa and can get some productivity out of the running game, Minnesota similar to Iowa. They're not as proficient a running team. Quarterback similar, pro styles, big physical guys want to throw it downfield. NFL prototype quarterbacks. We can have success on defense against teams that don't do those read options and RPO offenses with super athletic, mobile quarterbacks. I think we can have success. It's sort of a homecoming for Ethan, so we'll see how that all shakes out. But I fully expect, I was watching, there was a podcast, can't remember which one now. I get old, I forget stuff. They were talking about Rutgers and the over. And and it might have been the night report, they call Rutgers and the over a rover because Rutgers seems to always hit that, especially the beginning of this year and like the past 4 or 5 games from last year. So if Rutgers can generate any offense at all, and I think Iowa's defense is probably similar to Minnesota, maybe a little better. I think we have opportunities to make plays in the passing game, and we should have. I kind of like Rutgers as the underdog in this. I don't see Minnesota having the explosiveness and the playmaking ability to be able to, beat us by a touchdown. Now, of course, our injury situation, we won't know what that is until Saturday because it's generally a state secret in the world of Greg Schiano and Rutgers football. It's kind of funny. People were talking about the differences between Kirk Ferentz in Iowa and Coach Schiano. Kirk Ferentz is like, yeah, this guy's in, this guy's not playing. Yeah, he's dinged up. I don't know if he's going to play. But at Rutgers, it's very Bill Belichickian. Nonetheless, everybody enjoy a terrific week. Let's hope we come away with a win against PJ Fleck in Minnesota and then off to Washington. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you the next time. Cheers.